Good morning and welcome to the 15 minutes Chassidus Shir. We're holding in the mind of Tetzaveh Tov Shin Mem Aleph, and we're holding at Ois Hay. Before we continue in Ois Hay, I'd like to explain a little bit more about the inyan that we're talking about, that through at time of Golus, that the Pasuk says is kosis, when a yid is broken, crushed, spiritually, sometimes physically also. In this situation, it brings out the mo'ir, the etzem of the neshama. And in the Maimer, the Friedrich Rebbe says that first you need to have the avodah of the nasi, of the hispashtus of the Moshe, Mordechai, and the tzaddikim in every generation, to help bring out this more, the etzem of the neshama. The question we left off with is that it seems Golus would do that. That in times of Golus, Yidden are crushed, not enthusiastic about their mission of Torah mitzvahs because of the circumstances around. They're pushed away by the world around and by the forces of evil to hold them back from serving Hashem, then, or even just from worldliness itself, from all the noise that there is out in the world that would hold a person back or distract a person from focusing their life only on Torah mitzvahs and serving Hashem. So, to go a little bit, to expand on this idea, is the purpose of this year. The Mishnah says that I'm created only in order to serve Hashem. My whole being is to serve Hashem. That's why, that's the purpose of a Yid. The Torah says, "Breishis bara Elikim, Mesa Shemayim ve'is Aretz." The whole great purpose of creation, Bereshis, Bishvil HaTorah, Bishvil Yisrael. Rashi brings it down in the beginning of his spiritual Torah. So the whole universe is created in order there should be Yidden to learn Torah and do mitzvahs. And that's what the essence of what the purpose of life, of what a Yid is for. However, he is put into a guf and nefesh abamis. The nefesh shalikis feels this, and the Alter Rebbe explains at the beginning of Tanya that we have a nefesh abamis, a guf, and in the average person, the Beinani, this is covered over, and he feels his life is a gashmisdika life. Therefore, we can be distracted very easily from this purpose because of the need to survive, to live. Eating, sleeping, making a living, and all the other things that go along with we're living in Elam Hazeh. And it's very easy to have the excitement and purpose and joy of the Nefesh Elikis being put into the background. That's even when there's no external negative forces. And how much more so when there are external negative forces, that the vision of purposefulness and something deeper than just Elam Hazeh is harder to find. So there's a beautiful story of the Baal Shem Tov, who was the Baal Shem Tov says that there was a group of people walking through a forest, and the leader of this group had tremendously powerful eyesight, something different than the rest of them. And as they're walking through the forest, this group of them, he noticed on the high up in a tree that there was a bird, an unusual bird, colorful, something very, very precious, and it was sitting up in a branch on top of the tree, and he said to them, up there's a bird. Let's get it down, but if you would shake the tree to fly away. So they agreed on they'd make like a human pyramid, and he would climb up on top of everybody. They'd make one layer, people standing on top of him, on them, and then on top, until he would be able to get up and reach the bird on top. And They trusted that he had a track record of being able to see further than the average person with a clarity. So they began the process. It was a long process, and one of the fellows at the bottom, his back began hurting. So he said, my back's hurting. This is getting too difficult. And who knows anyway, I do believe that there is, he can see, but maybe he's not seeing clearly. Maybe I'm making a mistake. Maybe there really is no bird over there. And so he wiggles out of the pyramid, and the whole thing collapses. This story was told that there was a chassid, a chassid who was in the Baal Shem Tov's shul, Mezhebush, in the court of the Baal Shem Tov. And this is what happened every week. Every week, they would daven in shul. They would finish their davening, and the Baal Shem Tov would daven much longer. And at the end of the davening, then they would make the kiddush and have the suda. So he thought to himself, every week I wait so long in shul after the Baal Shem Tov is finished. This week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go home right after the end of our davening, and make the kiddush and have the suda with my family, and at the end, and when I'm finished, I'll rush back and I'll catch the Baal Shem Tov. There'll be plenty of time to catch the Baal Shem Tov before he finishes davening even. So that was his plan. He made it up, didn't tell anybody, goes back home, does this plan, and he comes back to shul after his suda. The whole place is empty. What happened? Punk this week, the Baal Shem Tov finished early. So afterwards, the Baal Shem Tov explained to them the story, and he told them that story of the bird. He said, the only way that I can get up, you believe that I have a spiritual vision, can go into the spiritual worlds. The only way I can do that is because I've got the support of everybody around. And when you left, so then I couldn't reach those high spiritual levels, like the fellow who could only reach the bird when everybody else had made that human pyramid to stand up on top of them. So we're talking in this mimer that there's a relationship between the Moshe Rabbeinu and the rest of the people, the Rosh and the Regel, the Raglei Hama, the people, and Moshe's the Rosh. That there's a reciprocal relationship. That is, it's based on that there's a vision. There's a vision and a purpose that the Moshe Rabbeinu sees. So, and therefore, because of that, can help the Yid's neshama shine through. So you have this on a number of levels. Let's say someone's struggling to become a professional athlete on some level, or a professional piano player, or excel in some level that takes a lot of effort. So there's a vision that the person has, or there's an inner pull that they are attracted towards a certain area of creativity or a certain lifestyle. And there can be support from the outside. You might need money, you might need friends, you might need parents, a community, a club that's supportive and, let's say, pulling the person into exerting the effort that it takes. And the sweeter the experience, the more one would want to invest energy into the area. So it could be that there's a person has a teacher, a mentor, and they're encouraging, and it's enjoyable. It's geschmack to be around them, and they see the success that others have had, and they have a talent. They want to be able to do that. If it's something as simple as cooking or running or any area of success in Gashmis in the world. And this, however, sometimes it could get difficult. It could get difficult because in order to get to the next level, they have to really put in more effort, and it's not easy. So you have athletes, Olympic athletes, or professional artists, where they have to invest hours and hours a day, 10 hours a day, let's say, of practice in order to get to the expert professionalism where they're at. That takes a lot of motivation, inner motivation. And there could be so many barriers that they don't have the willpower begins to slip away because it costs too much money. They've got to physically exert themselves. They don't have so many friends who are with them on this level. The motivation, encouragement, and excitement begins to dwindle because it gets very hard. The physical exertion becomes hard. That you've got to pull out some inner level of saying, I really, really want this. Now, and so that's why you don't have thousands of people who are experts in and athletes or in other fields. It's unique individuals that have that. They become the motivators and the leaders for the next generation. So when it comes to spiritual matters, a spiritual vision, when things are, let's say, rosy, clear, and beautiful, spiritual growth is easy. When it becomes difficult, that there are barriers put in the way, negative forces, people making fun of spiritual growth, it becomes much, much harder. And so you had the Yidden as they were a nation, and now they were given this energy of purposefulness of life. Matan Torah gave a purpose to existence, to daily life. This is what the Torah was given to Yidden, and they all felt it. And it was a beautiful existence in the Midbar with the Moshe Rabbeinu, with the Non-Ekava, with the Bereshit Mimrim, with the Mon. It was an unearthly spiritual existence, and so it developed further with the first and second base of Mikdash, especially the first base of Mikdash built by Shlomo. When things become difficult in spiritual terms, there was a negative forces saying, no, you're not special. We don't like you as a nation. You are different to the worldly value system that everyone's working out of. You're a threat. We're going to get rid of you, which was Haman's approach. And so where do you, and life was difficult. There were, and many times throughout history, we've had this situation when life has become difficult. Where does the Yid get that courage to say, no, I'm going to pursue the spiritual life. I'm going to live a life that's not worldly, that's Torah, that's mitzvahs, keep Shabbos, put on tefillin, eat kosher, and all the mitzvahs, with an approach that what am I here for is to serve Hashem, where the whole worldly attitude is saying that's not a value. Where do you get the strength to do that? So the harder it is because of the pressures on the outside, it's much harder to find that inner strength, motivation, perseverance, and sustainability of a spiritual life, spiritual life. That's important to go to shul and daven, but there's so many. It makes it difficult. If I walk out in the street, there's a problem. That's where Mesiras Nefesh comes. That's where there's an inner force within the Yid, but how can you bring it out? The guf and Nefesh Abamis, the world around you is telling you, stay away, it's hard. So that's where, that's the kosis. Does the kosis automatically bring out the inner strength and dedication? Not necessarily. It's very easy to give up. How many athletes have given up? How many professionals have dropped the ball because it's so hard? That's where you need to have one with the vision, one that is attached, that can see past all of that to give strength to the rest of the people. We'll pick up tomorrow, Mr. Hashem. Thanks for joining. If you'd like to sponsor a shir or dedicate it to somebody, please do so on RabbiRabin.com. Have a great day.